Have you ever really thought about how all the stuff in your life gets to you? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most powerful yet almost totally invisible industries on the entire planet, the massive world of maritime shipping that, believe it or not, is quietly powering our entire global economy.
Let's just start with one number that'll kind of blow your mind: 80%. According to the data, a full 80% of all global trade, by volume, is carried on a ship. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That is a staggering figure.
That 80% number means that pretty much everything that makes up our modern lives, the device you're watching this on right now, the coffee you drank this morning, maybe even the car you drive, almost all of it took a long, quiet journey across an ocean. This invisible industry is the true backbone of our world, and today we're going to see exactly how it all works.
So we've got this immense global scale operation. But that begs a huge question, right? How in the world do you even begin to organize a system that colossal? How do you make sense of literally thousands of ships carrying everything from oil to oranges all at the same time?
Okay, so let's get into it. It turns out the entire industry is basically built on a couple of core organizing principles. And once you get these, everything else just kind of falls into place.
The first big idea has this really technical-sounding name: parcel size distribution. But don't let that fool you. The concept is brilliantly simple. The whole shipping world is divided based on one key factor. Are you shipping something big enough to fill an entire ship or not? That's it. The size of your parcel decides everything. And this one big idea breaks the industry down into two main types of service. On one hand, you've got liner shipping. Think of this like a city bus. It runs on a fixed route, on a fixed schedule, picking up lots of small parcels, like all those containers full of phones and TVs. But then you have tramp shipping. This is more like a taxi. It has no fixed route. You hire it to go wherever you want to carry one single massive cargo. And for our purposes today, we're going to be focusing on these taxis of the sea, the tramp ships.
So if tram ships are the taxis, let's meet some of the different models out there that are doing all the heavy lifting for the world's raw materials. I mean, these are the real unsung heroes of the global economy.
So this chart here gives you a look at the entire world's merchant fleet. And you can see, yeah, there are a lot of different kinds of specialized ships, but that tramp market we're talking about, it is completely dominated by just two categories: oil and chemical tankers for moving all the liquids, and bulk carriers for moving all the solids. Together, they are the biggest players by far.
And even if you just look at the tanker family, the level of specialization is just incredible. You've got the absolute giants, the very large crude carriers, or VLCCs, that haul raw oil. Then you have product tankers for stuff like gasoline. And then you get into these highly specialized vessels for carrying dangerous chemicals, or even liquefied natural gas, which, get this, has to be kept at a mind-bogglingly cold minus 161 degrees Celsius.
Now, on the solid side, you've got the dry bulk carriers. These are the real workhorses. They're usually categorized by size, which often has to do with which canals they can squeeze through. So a Panama ship, for example, was designed to fit through the original Panama Canal. But the truly massive ones, the Cape-size vessels, they're way too big for any canal. They have to sail all the way around the Great Capes, like Africa's Cape of Good Hope, carrying these enormous loads of iron ore and coal.
Okay, so we've got these colossal ships moving the world's most basic materials. But how do they actually make money? How is the price for shipping, say, 100,000 tons of iron ore from Brazil to China even decided? Well, this brings us to the absolutely wild economics of the freight market.
The key to this entire puzzle is a concept from economics called inelastic supply. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It's actually really simple. You can't build a 300-meter-long ship overnight. It takes years. And what that means is that, in the short term, the total number of ships available in the world is fixed. And that one simple fact creates a truly wild market.
So here's what happens, and this is the crucial point. Because the supply of ships can't change quickly, even a tiny little increase in global demand for goods can suddenly mean every single available ship is busy. When that happens, companies that desperately need to move their cargo are forced to outbid each other for those last few available vessels. And the result? The freight rates, the price of shipping, can absolutely skyrocket. I'm talking doubling or tripling in just a few weeks. And of course, the reverse is also true, which can lead to some spectacular crashes.
And as if that wasn't volatile enough, this market is constantly getting hit by things happening all over the world. The health of the world economy, that's the big one for sure. But a war, a new trade policy, a hurricane tearing through the Gulf of Mexico, or even just a bad grain harvest somewhere, any of it can send shockwaves through the whole system and send those freight rates on a complete roller coaster ride.
Now, all this volatility is a massive headache, especially for the oil tanker industry, where the cargo is often being bought and sold while the ship is still out at sea. So to deal with all this complexity, they created this fascinating kind of insider system, a secret language really, to make sense of all the chaos.
I mean, this is the problem they had to solve, right? A tanker owner might get a request to ship oil from Saudi Arabia to Japan, and then another one from West Africa to the US. The distances are different, the port costs are different, the fuel burn is different. How can they possibly compare? Like, right now, which job is actually more profitable?
The solution they came up with is a system called World Scale. And its entire goal, its whole reason for being, is to create a standardized baseline so that a ship owner earns the exact same net profit per day no matter what voyage they take. It's this ingenious way of leveling the playing field for every possible tanker journey on Earth.
Okay, so here's how this clever system actually works. First, an association defines a totally hypothetical standard ship. Then, they calculate a baseline price for that ship to complete every single conceivable voyage you could imagine. This price is called World Scale 100. So then, in the real world, the ship owner and the person chartering the ship don't even negotiate a dollar amount. They just negotiate a percentage of that baseline. So if the market's really weak, they might agree on, say, WS 60. That's 60% of the flat rate. But if the market is red hot, it could be WS 230. It turns this impossibly complex calculation into a simple negotiation over a single number. It's pretty genius.
So from this simple idea of parcel size distribution all the way to this secret language of world scale, we've seen how this hidden industry organizes itself to fuel our entire global economy. But it also raises a really crucial question. This invisible system, this thing we all depend on for pretty much everything we own and use, is subject to these massive economic swings and all kinds of external shocks. It really is the backbone of our modern world. But how resilient is it, really? That's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.